March 10th, 2026. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, known as the IRGC, made a claim that stopped the world cold. They said they had hit one of the most secretive targets on Israeli soil, a wartime command bunker buried deep underground, directly beneath the military headquarters in central Tel Aviv. This is not a regular government building. This is the place where, in the event of full-scale war, figures like Prime Minister Netanyahu would be taken to survive and continue running the country. Israel's response said more than any confirmation ever could. They sealed off the entire area. They blocked the cameras. They refused to make a single comment. In today's media environment, when a government goes deliberately silent about a specific location, that silence is itself a message. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what really happened, and you'll understand exactly why Israel wants this kept quiet. I'm Tommy, and this channel delivers clear, objective analysis on the US and global economy. Before we go further, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the kind of sharp economic insight that helps you understand what's actually at stake in the world. Your support is what keeps this show going, and I genuinely appreciate it. Now, let's get into it. That bunker is real. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not speculation. It was built with American taxpayer money by American engineers, shielded with enough electromagnetic protection to keep operating even after everything above ground has been destroyed. To understand why Iran's claim matters so much, you first need to understand what is actually sitting beneath the streets of Tel Aviv. Most people picture Israel's military headquarters as a hardened above-ground compound with a few reinforced basement levels. The reality is something else entirely. The Hakiria district in central Tel Aviv conceals a layered network of underground command bunkers that Israel has been quietly building and expanding for decades. No one has publicly released a map of it. No one has officially confirmed how deep it goes. 2 installations have been independently verified. The first carries the classified designation Site 81. According to leaked documents and independent analysis, this is a fully electromagnetically shielded intelligence center, located somewhere beneath central Tel Aviv. It was engineered to keep running continuously, even if every power grid and communications network above ground goes dark. This is not a shelter. This is the backup brain of an entire nation. The second installation is called the Fortress of Zion. It is a newer, deeper military command center built directly beneath the Hakiria compound. The New York Times was once granted access and described a multi-level nerve center where dozens of officers sat before wall-mounted screens, tracking live airstrikes in real time. During active conflict, thousands of soldiers worked there around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is precisely what Iranian missiles have been aimed at. To judge how credible Iran's latest claim actually is, you need to look at what happened before. In June of 2025, a 12-day war broke out between Iran and Israel. 28 Israelis were killed, over 3,000 were hospitalized. During that conflict, Iranian ballistic missiles struck the north tower of the Da Vinci apartment complex, right next to the Hakiria compound. The entire area was immediately sealed off. No cameras were allowed in. The Jerusalem Post later reported that the missile had landed within what they called a stone's throw of Netanyahu's office at the time, the building known as Building 22. A few weeks after that war ended, the Prime Minister's office began undergoing renovations. No one confirmed or denied that the building had been damaged. To this day, Google Maps blurs the satellite imagery over that section of Tel Aviv. Russia's Yandex does the same thing. On Leonardo da Vinci Street, right in front of those towers, Google offers no street view. That option simply does not exist. That entire block has been erased from the digital map. France 24 conducted an independent analysis and concluded that Israeli media had deliberately delayed its coverage of the Da Vinci strike. Haaretz waited a full 2 weeks before publishing anything at all, even though photos had already been circulating online for days. This was not an accident. This was a coordinated information strategy. And in March of 2026, the IRGC claimed to have struck that exact same location again. Now let's look at the scale of what has been raining down on Israel over the past 10 days. On night 1 alone, roughly 90 ballistic missiles were fired toward Israel. Day 2, around 60. From day 3 onward, approximately 20 per day, arriving in smaller but more frequent volleys. From the outside, it looks like the intensity is fading. But that's an illusion. The individual salvos are getting smaller, but each individual missile is getting bigger, heavier, and more destructive. By March 5th, 2026, a military source confirmed to Iran's Fars news agency that Iran had launched over 500 ballistic and cruise missiles combined, along with more than 2,000 drones. 40% of that firepower was aimed at Israel. The remaining 60% was directed at 27 U.S. military bases scattered across the region. On March 1st, the deadliest single strike of the war hit the city of Beit Shemesh. A missile carrying a warhead of roughly 500 kilograms struck directly into an underground civilian bomb shelter, accessible by 2 flights of stairs. 9 people were killed. Investigators later concluded that even a fully code-compliant shelter would not have survived a direct hit at that force. An interceptor was fired at that missile. It missed. No mechanical failure was found. The system engaged correctly. It simply did not connect. That detail matters because it cuts to the core of something Americans need to pay close attention to. The White House has claimed that Iranian ballistic missile strikes dropped by 90% between day 1 and day 6, crediting joint U.S.-Israeli operations targeting Iran's mobile launch platforms inside Iranian territory. But even with that reduction, missiles are still breaking through. As of March 8th, 4 confirmed major impacts had struck the Israeli home front, including Tel Aviv, Beit Shemesh, Beersheba, and a location in central Israel. 1,619 Israelis have been hospitalized since the war began. 10 civilians have been killed. 4 remain in critical condition. Here is the most important thing you need to understand about the weapon Iran is deploying. The Cororumshar 4 is currently the most destructive ballistic missile in Iran's active arsenal. Its range is close to 1,200 miles. It carries a warhead of approximately 3,300 pounds. What makes it lethal is not just the raw explosive power, but its cluster warhead configuration. At roughly 23,000 feet of altitude, the warhead separates and releases multiple individual submunitions, each carrying several pounds of explosive, dispersed across a massive blast radius. A conventional warhead needs a direct hit to threaten an underground facility. A cluster warhead works differently. It turns the entire surface above that facility into a kill zone, shredding ventilation systems, communication cables, backup generators, and every single access point. You do not have to hit the bunker, you only have to seal it. For a densely packed urban environment like Greater Tel Aviv, that changes the defensive math that Israel has spent decades calculating. The White House says Iran's missile attacks dropped 90% from opening night to day 6, crediting U.S. and Israeli strikes against mobile launch platforms inside Iran. But even at reduced rates, missiles are still landing. As of March 8th, 4 confirmed major strikes had hit the Israeli home front across Tel Aviv, Beit Shemesh, Beersheba, and central Israel. Over 1,600 Israelis hospitalized, 10 dead. The multi-layered defense grid is working, but it is not working perfectly. And in this kind of war, imperfect is enough to matter. Now let's look at the other side of the mirror, because while Iran is claiming to have struck Israel's underground command structure, Israel carried out the confirmed, documented version of that exact operation against Tehran and did not hide it at all. On March 6, 2026, approximately 50 Israeli Air Force fighter jets dropped around 100 bombs on the underground bunker of the Iranian Supreme Leader, located beneath the leadership compound in central Tehran. The IDF announced total destruction of the facility. That bunker extended beneath multiple city blocks and contained meeting rooms, communications chambers, and command centers used by Iran's most senior officials. Israel's Unit 8200 and Unit 9900, its signals intelligence and visual intelligence branches, spent years mapping every corridor of that facility before the strike order was ever given. The footage was released publicly. The confirmation was explicit and unapologetic. This is what makes the broader picture more complicated than any black and white narrative you'll find on the news. Iran has produced no equivalent evidence for its claimed strike on Israeli underground infrastructure. But the absence of proof is not the same as the absence of an event. Not when the impact area was immediately sealed, not when the satellite imagery is still blurred, not when that same coordinate was struck in June 2025, and journalists were physically blocked from the area for weeks afterward. Both governments are running the same playbook. One side releases the footage, the other side buries the evidence. Meanwhile, the economic numbers are telling a story that neither government wants to put front and center. Crude oil has crossed $115 a barrel, a direct result of disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz and damaged energy infrastructure across Gulf state nations. This is not an abstract figure on a trading screen. This is the price you pay at the gas pump. This is the cost of shipping that works its way into everything you buy at the grocery store. A war in the Middle East is being paid for, in part, by ordinary Americans every single day. Over 1,300 Iranian civilians have been confirmed killed, including 194 children. 7 American service members have been killed across the Middle East theater. The United States has sunk more than 30 Iranian naval vessels and declared Iran's Navy combat ineffective. The White House says it needs 4 to 6 more weeks to accomplish its stated objectives. But no one has clearly defined what those objectives are, or what exactly accomplished looks like when they get there. Hezbollah has opened fire from Lebanon. The Islamic resistance in Iraq has joined the offensive with its own drone and missile strikes. This war is no longer a bilateral confrontation between Iran and Israel. It is becoming a multi-front conflict stretching from the eastern Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf, with the United States positioned not as a weapon supplier on the sideline, but as a direct combat participant at the center of it. And then, on March 8, 2026, Iran made the decision that may define the entire trajectory of this war. Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the supreme leader killed in U.S.-Israeli strikes, was appointed as his successor. The entire IRGC and Iran's senior leadership pledged allegiance to him immediately. This was not a ceremonial transition. This was a wartime transfer of control over a nation's weapons arsenal and military apparatus, executed in the middle of an active conflict. Mojtaba Khamenei has never held a public government office. He carries no formal military title. He has never appeared before the Iranian public to outline a national security strategy or coordinate a military campaign. He has inherited a war his father did not start, along with a military machine that has already burned through a significant share of the long-range missile stockpile Iran spent decades quietly building. The question is not whether the IRGC will support him. The question is whether he has the experience to know when to stop. Israeli intelligence estimates suggest over 3,000 Iranian military personnel have been killed since the opening strikes. Iran's long-range missile inventory has declined sharply. The changing pace of attacks may not be a sign of controlled escalation. It may simply be a sign that the supply chain is running low. Whether the new leadership in Tehran can maintain targeting discipline, keep the logistics running, and make sound strategic decisions under sustained American and Israeli bombardment is the question that every defense ministry on earth is watching right now. Step back and look at the full picture. Sealed streets, blurred satellite maps, media blackouts, 2 consecutive wars with Iranian missiles landing within the footprint of Israel's most classified command facility. And on the other side, a confirmed, publicly documented Israeli strike that destroyed the underground command center at the heart of Tehran. Both sides are playing the same game, but they are playing it by very different rules when it comes to transparency. What neither side is saying out loud is that neither has defined what the end of this war actually looks like. No peace conditions have been publicly stated, no diplomatic off-ramp has been acknowledged. Each side is systematically destroying what the other built over decades, one bunker at a time, one radar system at a time, one warship at a time. And with a first-time leader now holding the highest authority in Tehran, in the middle of a war already burning at full intensity, the only question left is not whether this escalates further. The question is, when it does, whether anyone left in either capital has the clarity to know where they are actually headed. In your opinion, which side is currently gaining the upper hand in this war? And do you think this conflict is going to end anywhere near as quickly as early predictions suggested? Let me know in the comments below. If this video gave you a clearer picture of what is happening, please hit the subscribe button on Tommy Talks Economy, drop a like, and share this with someone who needs to understand what is actually at stake. Thank you for watching.